Autonomy is highly regarded and valued in the U.S., but a marriage can raise issues and questions about self-determination and how a family is defined. Today, let's hear from distinct voices about equality in marriage. Vidai by Insiya Dhatt explores the impacts of a traditional Indian wedding ceremony, and Marriage Matters by Cheri Gaulke and Maberry brings multiple voices together to validate and uplift same-sex marriage. Based in California, Insiya Dhatt draws inspiration from her birthplace in Rajasthan and her hometown of Mumbai. Her work often features patterns that invite viewers into layers of meaning and storytelling. Vidai is titled after a common ceremony within Indian marriage traditions. During a bride's Vidai, she bids farewell to her parents as she becomes part of the groom's family. Bound in the style of a wedding album, Vidai is a two-sided accordion. One side features a letterpress printed poem written by the poet Atina Kashyap. It reflects on Kashyap's grandmother's experience with arranged marriage, how she had to completely redefine herself when she became part of her husband's family. The laser-cut images depict hands covered with meticulous mehndi or henna designs, often applied for auspicious or joyous celebrations across much of the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia. This is also very common at Indian weddings. Dhatt explained to me that there are traditions and customs around henna designs. Older married women often wear less henna, and widows may not wear any. As the designs on these hands become progressively less on each page, the end of this poem speaks to an emptiness after a lifetime of submitting oneself to her husband's preferences and priorities. This side ends, and we turn the book around. Here is Dhatt's personal story of her previous arranged marriage in India when she was 21. She describes how she had always been groomed for marriage, discouraged from having her own opinions, and physically and socially evaluated for her marriageability. Dhatt explained that after the Vidai ceremony, she is forever considered a guest in her own parents' home. After she was married, Dhatt had to mold herself to her husband and his family's expectations. Her shortcomings were attributed to her parents, while all her successes were credited to her husband's influence and guidance. Finally, Dhatt shares how difficult and devastating it was for her and her family when she decided to leave that marriage. She suffered blame from everyone, including herself, because being a wife was all she had been groomed for. Dhatt emphasized to me that this book isn't a negative criticism toward her culture or India. Rather, she wanted to highlight the Vidai and how it can affect women because she felt these traditions can be overly romanticized. She told me that many modern women still feel an underlying pressure to participate in this wedding tradition and relationship hierarchy. The Vidai can underscore the sense of ownership and control that a groom and his family retain over a wife. As Dhatt said to me, if you start at second class, you can never go back to being equal. Cheri Gaulke is a visual artist and educator, known for her films, artist books, public art, and performance art. Maberry is a co-founder of the anti-nuclear performance art group Sisters of Survival, and directed library and instructional technology at Otis College of Art and Design. They were both deeply involved in the pioneering feminist art movement associated with the Woman's Building in 1970s Los Angeles. As a wife and wife team, They have continued to work both independently and in collaboration on numerous creative, educational, and archival projects for the past 4.5 decades. Marriage Matters was made in 2005 in celebration of same-sex marriage and chosen families. This was 1 year after San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom directed city officials to issue marriage licenses to gay and lesbian couples, despite it being illegal at state and federal levels. Marriage Matters intersperses the story of Gaulke and Maberry's relationship with reflections from other same-sex couples on marriage, children, and their committed lives together. A variation on Haiti Kyle's flag book structure, Marriage Matters can open multiple ways. First, it can be read in codex style, turning page to page. In Gaulke's voice, the vertical pages recount highlights and common milestones in her relationship with Maberry, like buying a house, adopting dogs, and birthing and raising twin daughters. The horizontal pages present Sears portraits of other gay and lesbian couples and their families. When the book is displayed as an accordion, it features these smiling portraits alongside images of same-sex wedding cake toppers. Inviting homosexual couples to sit for Sears photos subverts the underlying assumptions in this type of portraiture, which typically represented heteronormative, middle American family values. It emphasizes that same-sex couples and families share the same commitment, joys, and practicalities as their heterosexual counterparts, and thus should have the same acceptance, visibility, equality, and rights. Marriage Matters can also open to resemble a two-tier wedding cake, and we can dig into slices of the different couples' stories. In an anecdote about one of her own family's experiences sitting for a Sears portrait, Gaulke was delighted that the photographer seemed very understanding of her family. Only later did she realize that the photographer did not recognize them as a lesbian couple, but rather as a mother and grandmother. Behind the Sears portraits, we can read about each couple's experiences, thoughts, and observations about marriage. Many couples noted that their weddings, despite not legally licensed, shaped their perceptions of their relationship. Some mentioned how their relationship had not previously been taken seriously by their straight friends and family, and that having children seemed to solidify the couple's relationship in the eyes of others. Many couples had multiple events, as more rights were granted or taken away. These joys and disappointments were felt not only by the couples, but their children and families as well. Not every couple wanted to get married, as it could be seen as conforming to non-progressive societal norms. But even those who would not choose it for themselves advocate for the equal legal right to marriage for everyone. And just as with heterosexual couples, some relied on this legal ceremony to protect their children and rights as parents and mates. The vertical pages pair the wedding cake toppers with statistics and quotes that set a broader stage of the representation and rights of gay and lesbian couples across the U.S. at that time. The window for marriage that Newsom created in 2004 stayed open only 2 months. Approximately 4,000 gay and lesbian couples were married before it closed. States and individuals continued assessing and asserting their civil right to marry across the country until 2015, when same-sex marriage was federally legalized. At the end of the book, Gaulke notes 11 pieces of anti-gay legislation had been passed in the previous year. With generosity and optimism, She closes with the importance of visibility, validating these relationships and families, and bearing witness to the love and lives of all gay and lesbian relationships. Vidai looks at difficult outcomes of inequality between husband and wife, and the representative impact of a specific ceremony in the Indian wedding tradition. Marriage Matters uplifts and validates same-sex marriage at a time when gay and lesbian couples could not marry. Both books present deep insights into autonomy, equality, and rights when it comes to marriage.